Hello and welcome to chapter 137 of the DC Alliance podcast. With me tonight is Joe, host of the Walk Through the Multiverse on the GUA Podcast Network. Joe, how you doing this evening?
Oh, not too shabby, Travis. I was after work today. I was like, okay, I need to go get gas. I did a lot of running around over the weekend, so I was just under half a tank. At this time of the year, starts getting colder. I like to keep it fill it up at half tank, and I go to the Kroger by my house, thinking no big deal, except that they are ripped up half of the Kroger parking lot to repave it, and that half of the parking lot had the gas station. So I'm like,
Oh,
cool, I'll go after work tomorrow.
good choice. Good
Yeah.
choice. I
How you
I,
doing?
I always get burned on the I'll go the next day for gas. I'm always more in a rush the next day, and it's usually a scene. But I feel that, Joe. I hate the struggle when you go pump gas, especially if there's a lineup for the gas pumps. It's incredibly frustrating. I'm pretty good. I had class today. I have a sick dog that's kind of on the mend now, which is good. Excited to talk about some DC stuff here. And I was on Marvel Alliance last week, which was enjoyable.
Yeah,
Wanted to
sure.
just plug that. Want to thank Chris for having me on, and thank Brent for filling in for me, and shake my fist a little bit at Brent because I somehow think he had control over Daredevil not showing up in She-Hulk last week. Don't know how. I don't know if I could ever prove it, but just something in my bones tell me his letter writing campaign to Kevin Feige worked. No, I'm just kidding, obviously,
Okay.
but it was a fun time. But I'm ready to talk about DC. It was a slow week, Joe, but
Yes.
we have some news. We have no Stargirl episode this week; they're off. But near I say, like we probably have a better episode of Smallville than anything we've gotten lately. And so this episode of Smallville is very good. I can't
Yeah.
wait to discuss it. And we had some news trickling in, including a possible return to DCEU for a old character that we'll get into. But before we do all that, we have to get the network plugs out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance with 8 shows in total. On Mondays is Slice of Film, and that rotates bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance. On Tuesdays is DC Alliance. On Wednesdays is Superhero Discussions. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance. On Saturdays, bi weekly, is a walk through the multiverse. And on Sundays, monthly, is World's Finest True Believers. DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Star Wars Alliance goes live Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and Marvel Alliance goes live Thursdays at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time. All three of those shows also have their own podcast feeds. Search for Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance if you just want Marvel content, DC content, or Star Wars content. But if you want all 8 shows on the podcast network, stay subscribed to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on your podcast app of choice. We also have a Patreon, 2 tiers, a $1 tier and a $5 tier. $1 tier is basically tip jar. You like what we're doing, you want to help us out. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras. You get your ad-free episodes, early access to episodes, like the episode of Superhero Discussions that Joe just did with me before we got on here now. You'll see that later on tonight, listeners, patrons. And you get Patreon exclusive episodes. Myself and Joe have DC films through the years. We just posted Superman 2. We're going to get together talk about Swamp Thing soon. Joe is going through this new thing he has, which is for the month of October, going through movies, old Halloween, scary movies,
Hmm.
sometimes Halloween movies, everything in between. Joe, just give the listeners a little uh, talk about what was in the past that you've already covered, and maybe a couple movies that you're going to be doing. They're little 10 to 15-minute blasts reviews about the movies, and they've been great. I've been listening to them and really enjoying them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm calling it 30 plus days of Halloween because I technically started the last week of September. So today's episode that came out was Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which is, I'll be honest with you guys, it's not a great sequel. But like I've got, over the weekend, I put out my coverage of Hocus Pocus 2 and my best friend's Exorcism, both brand new movies, came out Friday. And then later on the week, I've got A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4 that I'm going to be talking about, Paranormal Activity 1 and 2, and Blair Witch from 2016, which is actually a better sequel than what Blair Witch 2 was. So,
Which I didn't see the second Blair Witch. The first Blair Witch really scared the crap out of me. The third Nightmare on Elm Street really scared the crap out of me. So there's a few here. Young Travis Joe, believe it or not, was very short and very easily scared.
yeah,
And
I believe it.
it happened a few times. I watched horror movies I probably should not have watched at the age I watched them. And yeah, needed to sleep with mom and dad. Very scared. Somehow Freddy Krueger couldn't get me in my dreams if I was sleeping next to mom. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Check that out. We also have Joel's Multiverse Minutes. Clay's for the first time, where he watches shows for the first time. Right now, he's doing Game of Thrones. We also have Katie going through Star Wars comics with her husband. And we also have the Marvel Alliance guys doing their We Can Watch This All Day MCU rewatch. There's a lot of entries in that. We thank everyone that's a patron. But if you can't, if you can take a quick 30 to 60 seconds to rate review the podcast on your podcast app of choice, that'd be greatly appreciated. It helps us be found in the algorithm. And that's always a good thing. More people find the show. And yeah, thumbs up on that. Joe, that's everything. That's all the paperwork done.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty quick. Go me. Take a sip of my water after that, and let's get into this very slow news week, but we still have enough that I like to think we'll have a good discussion here. And obviously, our first topic, which was our part of our main topic last week, that is still going, is starting today. We have Black Adam's world promotional tour. It starts today in Mexico. Black Adam comes out in 2 weeks, Joe. The promotional tour is in full swing. We got posters, we got interviews, we got Black Adam's theme music released over the weekend. Are you getting hyped for Black Adam?
I'm just happy it's coming out.
I mean, this is DC fans, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, not only that, like, yes, DC fans, but like this movie got bumped 2 times?
Yes.
I can't remember. Like it should have been out already.
So the way the last bump was it seemed like it was setting it up to be pretty close to Shazam. Then they moved Shazam after that, which
still makes no sense, but okay.
So that's the frustrating thing, that they're not interacting. But there was some good stuff here that we should get into. There was some. Well, I'll go into the list of the promotional tour first. I can break that down because I know it starts in Mexico. October 3rd, Mexico, October 12th in New York City, October 13th in Toronto, where there is an exclusive fan screening with Cineplex, October 13th in Atlanta, October 13th in Miami. So they're doing 3 places one day.
That's odd. I'm not going to lie.
I can see that, though, with private jets hitting all 3 of these places. We also have October
all in one day, like
in London. Yeah, you're right, Joe. I'm just trying to justify it. There's no way to make, unless you.
The Rock is going to give 110% and be at every single showing.
They very well might try to put him at every one of them. We have October 18th in London, October 19th in Madrid, and October 20th in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
When the movie really kicks off. I'm excited about this, Joe. I did enjoy some of the news we got. We did get a Fandango interview. I don't know if you had a good chance to check that out. There wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot in that. It was a pretty good atmosphere. A lot of it's trying the characters relating to Black Adam. One of the things I did notice when the lady asked if we would see any Justice League members, before The Rock had a chance to answer, we've got showed a clip that was Zack Snyder's Justice League in title too. Kind of caused some fans of a certain variety to freak out a little bit in excitement, and other haters of a certain variety to freak out in the other way. So it's chalk and cheese for that. But I thought that was notable, not just in the sense that any other time I've seen they've shown Justice League. So this is kind of odd that they're showing, like, they legitimately showed Zack Snyder's Justice League and Superman standing up after she asked a question of if you would see any Justice League members.
Allegedly, he's going to be in the film, so
I'm not even alleged. I'm full on the camp that he's going to be in it.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I have my belief is going to be rewarded. We'll get a little bit more into that discussion when we talk about the possible other re-entry in DCEU. I think that's going to catapult us.
I'm not going in with any expectations. I just
I don't want expectations. I'm just hoping.
But no, you have expectations that
okay. Let me rephrase that.
This movie.
Okay. Superman's appearance in this movie will not dictate if I enjoy the movie or not. Let me get that straight.
Yes,
it won't. I think I'm going to like this movie just for the other characters in it. Like, that's what I'm focused on. but I
Yeah, I'm
truly
definitely looking
believe,
forward to the Justice Society.
yeah, like Dr. Fate is something like get it in my veins, and all the other Justice Society. I'm sucker for like teams like that, so I'm going to enjoy that. And Pierce Brosnan was the first Bond for me, so yeah, I'm special place. I'm excited for the
Yeah,
film. I just really think that I think there's going to be a nice cherry on top at the end, Joe. For me, that's all. I just have a
just don't
belief. I
put
don't know. People
just
are
lower
showing
your
up in hotel.
expectations, buddy.
People are showing up in hotels in Los Angeles at the same time. The Rock is at the same set hotels. I don't know. It's all just making me believe just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
And I will not be diminished if it's not the case. But I just feel like it could
Look,
be, Joe.
in a couple weeks we can break all that down when we do the movie review.
Oh, there'll be some smile on my face of super. I just can't wait. I'm excited for this film too. Every bit of the action looks crazy to me. I've read a lot of things saying Dragon Ball Z, Man of Steel. Like you're going to be really excited for the action, and every extra action shot I've seen, even him throwing around people, all of it looks like a super being throwing around somebody.
Yeah.
That's stuff that sometimes is missing in some of these superhero films, especially when you get these fights with these powered beings like Man of Steel. I really felt that. And I kind of get the feeling here when I see different things that this is a lot like it. We have a couple posters as well, Joe. 3 new posters. I guess I can share my screen for these to show the audience that's watching on YouTube. The first one, international poster, classic poster of the one hero, then all the other heroes going down the side. All the characters look dope here, Joe. That's right, like Hawkman, crazy, and we get a second one here for Dolby Cinema poster.
That's cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And Fauna one for an IMAX poster. I think this might be the best one of the 3.
That one looks awesome. Yeah.
The Black Adam holding the Hawkman there, fantastic. Like I said, we got his theme too, which I think it was enjoyable. It kind of slows down, picks up. It is in the vein of the stuff we got with Superman, Batman, like the bombastic themes. I will say, complete honesty. I was doing up the show notes and listening to his theme, and I got distracted for a minute, and YouTube like played another video, and it was the Man of Steel theme, and then played another video from Hans Zimmer. And I was like, this is not the right thing to be doing, is following this Black Adam theme out with 2 Hans Zimmer bangers in a row. And Wonder Woman scene was getting ready to play. I was like, okay, let's calm down a little bit here, Travis. Let's get into context and let's see.
No more DCEU.
No, let's wait. Let's not judge Rock that hard. But I enjoyed the theme, Joe. I think it's fun that we got a lot of dumps here. Obviously, next week we'll have even more information.
Oh yeah, like we're gonna get a ton next week
interviews.
and the week of.
Yeah, and I'm excited about this. Obviously, we won't spoil anything. We don't want to be spoiled ourselves. We'll talk about the stuff like the legitimate interviews. No one in these legitimate interviews gives out any crazy spoiler things, but we'll talk about the maybe the plans they have going forward. They might indicate those, but I'm excited to hear more. And go Toronto for the screening. I wish I could see that. We'll move on.
You got a couple like a week later. It's fine.
When you think about it, yeah, a week later, and I might not even be able to do that. Listeners are going to give you a little peek behind the curtain of Travis's life and his first world problems here. I booked a ticket for Black Adam a couple days ago for 3:30 Thursday, 3:30 p.m. my time. Really excited about that. Pumped. And I get home that evening, my prof for strategic management, I'm finishing up my accounting program. I have 2 semesters left. And he's a very intense guy. He loves superhero stuff, though. And I'm hoping that I might be able to talk my way into some sort of early start of my test.
I'll say buy him a ticket, too. He'll let you know.
That might be an idea, Joe. I'm not going to rule that out. He sent out a little message saying, like, breaking down what's going to happen for the next 4 weeks of our course. And, of course, Travis's luck. Test October 20th, Thursday, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Could not be more frustrating. Now, I don't know what kind of midterm this is yet. We haven't gotten broken down. I had a midterm in auditing that was essentially 80 multiple choice, and I got that done in a half hour and was out. So if it's something like that, I can do that and then get to the movie theater. I just gotta have to know what it is. I'm so nervous I'm gonna have to change my ticket to like I want to see it in IMAX, so it's not. It goes from 3:30. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
to 7 is the break.
okay.
So it's gonna be a while in between, and I just wanted to see it then. I have an auditing midterm on Friday
Okay.
as well, so that's why I wanted to see it early after. I may end up having to cancel my ticket and get one for Friday, 12 o'clock at noon after I finish my auditing and just go on and watch it then. It just
Yeah,
sucks because I was trying to get 2 viewings in, Joe. It's not going to happen. I think it's just going to be one.
I've got a 5 o'clock. My tickets are at 5 o'clock Thursday, and I haven't got a second set yet. But depending how I feel after watching it Thursday, I might try to get one Friday after work, so that way I have 2 viewings before we talk about it on the show. That's all going to depend though, because I'm pretty sure that I've got to get my daughter that day, and I don't know if she wants to go see it. If she does, great. But I also don't know what time we're going to record, which we'll talk about that, off mic, and
Yeah,
we'll figure that one out.
I say we'll get into that when
We'll get that off mic. That's off after show talk.
the nervous thing for me is I would love to see it on Thursday. The only reason I'm hesitant was No Way Home. I had the same situation, except it was a final. And not gonna lie, didn't do as great on that final. I had a 90 in the course and I pulled a 70 in the final. So
Ugh,
cut my grade mark down 10 points right
yeah,
away.
that's not
And
good.
that was but I love No Way Home. I got hit.
Sure, but
Hit.
it's not
I
worth
had to see it when I
failing
when
the
I thought
class.
I didn't fail. I still got
Still,
an A. Still got an A,
um,
but it was kind of sucky.
oh yeah, your Canadian math is weird. So
Yeah.
anyway, do you have to see it in IMAX? Like, I know you said you want to see it in IMAX, but
I
does
want
that?
to, but I don't have to, Joe. You're right. Like
But
I'd
but
like to
well,
see
well,
it
hear me out
once
though.
before.
Here, I'll say, hear me out though. Go watch it regular on Thursday night at like say 5 o'clock when school's done.
Yeah,
Class is done. Don't have to worry about any more midterms, and then go Friday in IMAX.
that's a good idea. I'm gonna see if I can get to see it twice. That is the goal. I'm excited about this. I have tickets. I may have to change them, but that's a problem for future Travis. I'll let you listeners know what comes of that. Joe, let's take our first ad break of the evening. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Joe, let's get into the next topic here. What basically is our main topic, but I didn't really have anything as a main topic. I list them all as topics because I don't know which one I could consider main here.
They're
We
all
have
great topics.
we have some news from Daniel RPK's Patreon. He is a pretty matter of fact about this that Joe Manganiello is going to make his return as Deathstroke in the DCEU. Doesn't specify where, so I thought we could get a little fun with this and think, where do you think you could see him showing up, Joe, in the future? Like of what we know is coming down the pipe.
Right off the top of my head, when I saw this in the show notes, Peacemaker. Peacemaker would be a perfect thing for him to show up in, because they're both mercenaries for the most part, and Peacemaker has changed his ways, but he could still like kick ass and kill if he had to. But that was my first thought, and we were talking before we got hopped on live here. There's a good possibility he could show up in Blue Beetle. Like, I
Yes.
mean, Deathstroke is always been known to go after Teen Titans, and yes, this Blue Beetle is not a Teen Titan in the team sense, but he has always been attached to the Teen Titans. There's nothing to say that Deathstroke wouldn't go after Blue Beetle for a contract reason.
True. Those are 2 really good possibilities. I really like the Peacemaker thought. I can really see him uh, going toe to toe with John Cena or even Vigilante for that matter,
Yeah,
and just being
but
like, "You're
him and
you're
Vigilante going
you're
against
you're
each
a
other would
terrible
be.
knockoff of me." That's what I can see him saying. I could also see him in the Viola Davis Amanda Waller show
Oh yeah, I forgot that was coming out.
as
I
a
totally forgot that was coming out.
possible mercenary that she hires as a result of the Peacemaker thing. But
Yeah,
Joe, saving the biggest thoughts for here now. I held this back. I didn't tell you what we discussed. I'm not ruling out the Batman actually being shot. I'm not ruling out from everything I've seen. I think I gotta see a lot of things happen in the next year-ish and change. But there's a lot of smoke into the Henry Cavill Superman's going to be is doing additional photography for the Flash right now. There's a whole Ben Affleck's in multiple movies going forward as the Batman. We have Wonder Woman
Yeah,
showing
he's
up
in.
in Shazam. He's in the Flash and Aquaman. I just don't
Yeah,
know anymore, and I really think there's a possibility of a one-off
well, but
Batman Joe Manganiello Deathstroke
dude,
movie
I
that
would love for that to happen. Like
I'm really
he
not
can hold his
throwing
own
anything out,
movie.
especially with how Marvel is like blowing everyone's like socks off with the. Oh, you thought this guy was done? He's back. You thought it was like you get a revival, you get a return, you get a
But
return, you get a
those were
return.
all characters that had their moments, and they were done with like they were done with those projects because of either character dying, Wolverine, or the show dying, Daredevil. So having Deathstroke show up out of nowhere, while I would love it, he never got his chance. He was supposed to be in Batman with Ben
Yeah.
Affleck, and that went nowhere. That didn't even get off the ground.
And then he was supposed
So
to be the main villain in Suicide Squad, Gavin O'Connor's.
was he really?
Yes,
I
but they
didn't know
changed
that.
that when James Gunn jumped on. He was tasked out as villain.
Oh, damn. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So
upsetting.
yeah,
Yeah, so that actually leads more credence into him actually maybe coming into Peacemaker
well,
or whatever other project James Gunn might have
that
down
is
the road.
true. That I could see him showing up in that. I could honestly
What
see
if
him.
because Gunn said he's got another project in the works,
That
another
could be. It
it
could
could be
be
a Deathstroke.
Deathstroke. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'd want. I hope. I say that, but he actually for Peacemaker he brought in some pretty dang good. Like that final fight for Peacemaker was really
Oh,
well
that was
choreographed.
amazing.
That's what I'm. That's the only thing I worry about with Deathstroke. That's why I liked who he had set up for his own solo movie. I thought that was great. Like you need somebody that's going to understand. Like this got to be really good. Like fight style wise. Like this is one of the big elements of Deathstroke is his ability to fight. Like
Yeah.
he's supposed to be just as good as Batman. So I
Well, it's that precog that he has.
I would love to
Precognibility. There
see
we go.
him. I would love to see him. Like you said, he didn't get a chance, and he loves the character. That's another thing. And he's in the minimal amount I've seen him in. I thought he was great every
Yeah.
time I've seen him. Yeah, like even in both cuts, I thought he was good. But I especially liked him. Like you could even tell he showed how excited he was just to find out Bruce Wayne's identity. You had
Well, I
so
mean,
many
yeah, he
layers
definitely
on
had
that.
more. He had a little more time in Zack Snyder's Justice League because he came back and filmed extra stuff. But I mean, yeah, he has been a big proponent of pushing this character out there and being this character. Like, give him the chance. His he lost his chance twice now. Apparently, that I didn't know about the second time to play this character.
It's not expensive either, Joe. Like the one thing I love about Marvel is that they do different things. Like not every movie is the same. Not every movie is first and foremost a superhero movie. Like you have like okay,
Well,
I will
but that
say
didn't change until about phase two when they
I
started shifting
know.
to
Well, not really.
actually
Like
change, like
Cap-
going into these characters.
Captain America one was period piece that would like some of
Yeah,
these are formulaic. Like Thor was the fish out of water. So you get some of these stories with things, and that's what I like here. Like you can make Deathstroke your action hero. You can get some action movies out from just doing Deathstroke. Couple Deathstroke movies at 60 million a pop would
I mean,
not be hard to pull off.
you can even have how he became Deathstroke, like
Yes,
have him in Nameless War and being mercenary in Nameless War, like, and then he comes back and realizes it's all just a bunch of crap.
there's so
So
much content like on the meat of this bone, Joe, that they I would really love for them to get
yeah,
at. It's just there's like I said, so much opportunity. And for listeners with Daniel RPK, I would put a little bit more stock into him. He's a bit more reliable, especially when he talks on Patreon. He doesn't usually go off on that unless he thinks he's factually right. And we're getting some of for return to DCU. I've seen a lot more Superman coming back tweets from verifieds in the last week. So
I'm not saying he's not coming back. I would love for him to come back, but with DC trying to move away from this current DCEU iteration
I don't know if
into
that's the case
whatever.
anymore.
It's not gonna like they can't.
I don't know if that's the
With
case anymore. All the decisions since Zaslav has come in, Joe, has
exactly like
literally
that's what
been the opposite of moving away from Cavill's
with
Batman.
Aquaman, with this rumor of Deathstroke, with the rumor of really, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman coming back in
In
movies,
the Flash and Wonder
there's
Woman and Shazam and yeah,
Peacemaker getting a second season, Shazam, which is connected to the DCEU, like that.
Flash and Aquaman in Peacemaker as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like you got
Yeah,
all these properties that are tied to the DCEU that you try to move away from, but they still have a big tie to it. You can't. You have to start over, like just wipe the slate clean. Whatever movie you have on right now, like that's stop. Like those movies are done. Whatever movie you have going forward, that's the new DCEU. But they haven't showed that that's what they're doing.
which makes me think that they might
everything.
not do that. I don't think. I think that you may get a Superman rollout of he's getting his own solo film again after this appearance here that we see. I could be wrong, but
Which
that
also sucks because then we had the last 10 years of possibilities that went nowhere. Like you morons. But
yeah,
then
well,
again,
essentially, it's
three
new
different
regimes too. New
changes.
regimes
So
too. Like
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like what I hearken with a sports team, Joe. Is like the person is a general manager, and you have somebody like another general manager on the outside looking in and saying, "Man, if I had all his players, I'd have such a good team. I could get rid of this guy, bring in this guy, and I'd have such a good organization."
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
twice
no,
now, people have thought that and come in, and it has not been successful. And we get a third time now with WBD, and I'm not sure what their plan is. To be honest with you, I just know it's not the plan that was in place before they got there.
yeah, the plans have changed over the last two regimes.
If we
We
can
know
even
this.
call what if we can even call what was before they were there, the
Well,
plan seemed like it was starting to get there with Batgirl Keaton coming in. It seemed like they were starting to get to a plan, but
yeah, but even
that
that
old
though wasn't
regime's
even
problem. That
that.
old regime's problem was kicking the can down too long. They should have done what people thought Zaslav was doing when he canceled Batgirl.
Yeah,
They thought he was like cutting everything and starting anew. That's what the old regime should have done, but they didn't want to give up the cash cows of Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
correct. Which
Yeah,
that's their own fault. They could
yeah.
have easily just said,
Start it
"Nope,
new.
these movies were done after this movie. We're gonna reboot Aquaman. We can keep the same actor. Yeah, it'll be confusing, but we can keep the same actor. This is now the new Aquaman. Look what they do with the Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Like you have Suicide Squad and then the Suicide Squad, and that's confusing us. All get out.
The worst thing is that Suicide Squad can't operate as a sequel from the original Suicide Squad. Like that's the only frustrating thing is
Well,
that if you want to hit Canada, you can watch the first Suicide Squad and go off and watch the second Suicide Squad, and you could honestly think that it was a sequel just
you
from the
could.
amount
It
you
could
could.
work.
Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't know. Wait, let me rephrase that. You wouldn't know. You would think that it was a sequel after finishing watching. You would
Well,
know
and
no different.
you throw in Birds of Prey in the middle of that because Harley's in that too,
Yeah,
and she even makes a comment in that when she sees Boomerang's poster. It's like, oh hey, I know him, and
yeah.
then on to seeing him again in the Suicide Squad. Yeah, you could definitely say this is all a continuation, but no, they don't want to do that. Like they should have after Snyder's Justice League came out, just been like, all right, no more. We're starting over. Give us 5 years. We're gonna reboot everything. But they couldn't do that because you're right. Because Wonder Woman and Aquaman Aquaman made $1 billion. Wonder Woman was on the horizon to potentially be a big movie, and then that kind of, I'm not gonna say it flopped because I still enjoyed it, but
No,
it definitely
it
got
did
a lot of
well. It did well for HBO Max.
yeah,
Joe. Like
yes.
they won't know the tangible, but they definitely drove. It was like the big Christmas Day thing,
Oh, I went
and
and saw I saw it in theaters because I read out a movie
I
theater
saw it in
to go see
theaters as
that.
well.
Yeah,
S Bub says in Birds of Prey, she mentions how she got out of jail with a bomb in her neck and saved the world. Went back to jail, broke out again.
yeah, like
Yeah,
it's exactly that's Bubs. Like it's the DCEU currently is the 10 to 15 movies that we've had so far,
plus Peacemaker.
plus Peacemaker, which
Yeah,
I actually should probably that's coming out on DVD. I need to go get that if they have a steel case because I've got all of the DCEU in steel case or steel book
I know
DVD.
it has the
I need to get that.
Blu-ray. I don't know if it has Steelbook or not,
I
Joe. I
mean,
assume
I'm gonna
so.
be
I
mad if
assume
it
it's right there.
doesn't because it's gonna be contrasting my rest of my DCEU. But we'll see. I'll
It'll be
survive.
you'll live. You'll live. First world collecting problems.
Right?
It,
I don't have a
it,
collecting problem.
no, as he stands back with all his comics behind him. It, like I said, it'll be interesting to see where he could possibly go. I really don't
Yeah.
know with this DCEU, to be honest with you. That's why I have so many questions, and potentially I think I'm going to have answers. Well, either way, I'm getting my answers after Black Adam. I think
Yes.
I'll know where if Cavill Superman is in this, then they are continuing on. They're not erasing. They're not rebooting. If Cavill Superman's in this, they're not rebooting Superman. They're
But
not.
that also with the Flash, that having been the current. No, wait. Does Aquaman come out after the Flash, or is that
Before Aquaman's before Flash is the last one on the
Flash is
docket,
gonna be
I
the
think,
last
right?
one?
Yeah.
So technically, Flash could be the be all end all, and then from that point, all right, we'll reboot
That very
because
well possible
we
could
haven't
be.
heard anything about the third Wonder Woman movie in like what, a year and a half, 2 years.
It wouldn't make sense for me to bring Cavill in if you're going to do that. That's the only pause I have. Why would
Well,
you bring
but
him in?
what
Because you could just keep him the way he is and
to
reset it.
kill
Unless you're,
them off in the Flash movie?
yeah, I don't understand how Cavill would agree to that either.
Money.
If
Like
I suppose,
if his contract says he gets one more movie and he gets paid, like he's got the Netflix Witcher money. Like even though Netflix has its own problems right now, but like he's set on Witcher. Like that he's good there.
oh yeah,
Like Ben Affleck coming back for Flash and Aquaman with the potential of getting killed off. Okay, cool. I mean, sucks, but like they need to wrap up these characters' arcs before they reboot anyway. If they want to do it clean and have a good reboot, yes, bring these characters back to give them the proper send off.
can I suggest something to you, Joe? That Aquaman is after Flash now. Thanks, S. Bobs. Flash is June
Okay.
2023, then Aquaman's December 2023.
Okay.
So the
So
Aquaman stuff should if Flash changes the world, it should directly affect Aquaman in some way. Maybe we'll be get a nod to it. Well, there is Ben Affleck shot scenes for Aquaman, which makes me think, will he get
allegedly.
reset in the Flash? Allegedly, yeah. I don't know, Joe. It's
I
interesting
don't know
point for
either.
me. I just know that the Flash maybe is your chance to reset it, or maybe is it your chance to set up your potential world-ending event that will reset things. Maybe not use the Flash as that. Maybe start to set up something. Maybe build 5 to 10 movie or to a crisis, to
Can
a thing where Batman has to sacrifice himself. Where like you can build that. You don't have to give
you
Ben
can
Affleck a movie. You can give
yeah,
him appearances in these movies, and then you can bring everyone together for another Justice League movie. Get rid of some of these characters. Do a Flash goes back, resets the timeline, and then you can move forward with your new universe, sending off these characters that we already had. Henry Cavill could even possibly get another Superman movie in amongst that time from now to the reset.
possible.
Like I
Considering that
don't
they
know.
probably want to distance themselves from Ezra Miller, that's why I was saying Flash would be the cutoff point.
Yeah,
But with
that's the other
Aquaman
thing.
coming out afterwards, like okay,
Yeah, then Aquaman's still around. So
yeah,
like I said, I don't see them getting rid of Momoa and Godot just because their ages too. They can be commodities for a while.
they could.
And they
Although
haven't had
again, they haven't had the
they don't have the
Wonder Woman
length
3,
of
so
time. They don't have the length of time like the amount of films that some of these like Downey Jr., Evans, Scarlett Johansson like they did several different
but
films for lots of money.
that's a whole different universe that started out not rough. I mean, they were still working everything and building everything, but once they hit Avengers, they're like, all right, we got a plan, let's go forward. And so that's a whole different monster versus Snyder trying to set up the DC universe that he was asked to set up, and then because he couldn't, then everything starts to go sprinkling and becoming problematic.
I'm really curious to see how this is going to go, Joe. Like I said, Black Adam will be our first indication,
I think
but I
so.
think we're both in agreement that regardless of anything, you can put this Deathstroke into a Peacemaker series or into a Amanda Waller series,
or
like a
even
James Gunn
or
property,
even his own thing. Yeah,
or even his own thing, and that don't have to have anything to do with the Flash, and you can still it can still be an enjoyable property. So we're hopeful that Joe Manganiello gets another chance. Like Joe said, he kind of deserves it. He's gotten to ride in the deal several
yeah, he
times
did.
here. So Joe, before we talk about our final our final two topics of the evening, let's take another ad break. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Okay, Joe, let's get to it. Uh, in my opinion, much ado about nothing, but we got a story last week about WBD going to sell. And why I say this is much ado about nothing, I'm not saying it's not a possibility. It's definitely a possibility. It's
Money
on the
talks is
table.
always a possibility.
It's what I call it's when Zaslav sitting at his table in his ivory tower, or well, what is $11 a stock by you now?
$11 stock, about 2
Yeah,
burritos at Taco Bell.
I'm just trying to think. Just cheap material. Anyway, I think that there's this button over on the side. It has a key. You turn the key, you open up the lock, and you press the button. That's the sell button. That's when everything's going wrong. That's when nothing's working. That's when things are going crappy, in my opinion. I think that there was an article, like I said, people were saying that Comcast was circling. They were going to buy this stuff. This is Al's big plan to get out. And I don't think that is at all. I think that just like with AT&T, you'll get their attempt at it, and if it fails, then they'll bail out and sell and make their money that way. Because, like I've said numerous times, Joe, even the content library that WBD holds now that they bought WB, like Discovery holds now that they
It's
bought
so
WB,
big.
that's enough that you could sell that to streaming services on your own,
Yep.
like in 5-year contracts, and have that as a company that makes enough revenue to justify a certain stock price, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
So that's why I never think that they'll just like give up so easily. They're going to make their attempt at it, but they always have.
Not after a year of just acquiring the company. Like it's
Yes,
going to be
yes,
give it 5 years, and then maybe you know
yes.
they might change their tune. But right now, like this soon after just getting it, no. I agree
No,
100% with you. No, they're not going to do it.
and the lawsuit that came to them, that was from the former people that own WB. They
Oh yeah.
they unfortunately, just after Discovery purchased him, Discovery even called this out and said that that's what they did, fudge the numbers to get it purchased. But since they own the company, they are the ones that are liable here
Yeah.
right now. They have to prove that AT&T had like maliciously did this on purpose. So it's going to be a little bit there, but it's
AT&T do something wrong? Never, never go against Apple.
I don't have AT&T.
Neither do
Luckily,
I. I
I
got
don't.
Verizon.
I don't have a lot of options here either. We have like two, three options here, so it's somewhat monopoly. But yeah, Joe, I thought that was much ado about nothing, and we have uh, Zaslav here. I'll just read out a couple quotes from this article. It says Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav says on rumored merger talks, "We are not for sale." Top brass at Warner Brothers Discovery held a company-wide town hall Wednesday over Zoom, in which they laid out the current state of the company and the industry, acknowledging the hard times amid a slew of cost-cutting moves and layoffs, and emphatically addressing merger rumors with CEO David Zaslav, exclaiming, "We are not for sale, absolutely not for sale." This, according to the sources on Zoom, the CEO didn't specifically address which company he was referring to, but the assumption by many was they referring to Comcast. There was no mention of pending layoffs. Yeah, so Zaslav emphasized that they were going through a tough time, and that people should have patience. And DeLuca and Abby, the ones that are in charge right now, the films, talked about confidence in their feature slate. And Zaslav piped in and said he wants to get 15, 20 theatrical titles a year. They also talked about HBO Max as well.
Well, considering that this year they only had enough for 2, let's see what next year brings.
They didn't. They didn't mention Batgirl. There was no mention of Batgirl.
Well, of course not. That's
There was.
shelved. We're We ain't never seeing that, which
There
sucks.
was mention of they already achieved $3 billion in cost cutting savings, uh, and there's going to be more cuts. 30% of their company's ad staff was laid off, with more cuts coming in the coming weeks. WBD has a combined workforce of 40,000 people. Uh, there's a lot of other things as well, like content size. Several divisions are being reworked. Uh, Leadership changes. This a whole thing when a company takes over. And to be honest with you, they were shocked at how much money was being spent at this company. So there's going to be cost cutting measures. There's going to be a drastic look at this company, and clearly because of lying about numbers, fudging
Yeah.
numbers on HBO Max, HBO Max subscribers, you have to do your due diligence in this stuff, Joe. What do you think about? Do you think they're going to sell, Joe? Do you think they're going to take their first crack at it first for a
I
while
mean, they're
before
gonna
they
they're
change
gonna
it?
try. They're gonna do what they can. If Zaslav is saying he wants to put out 15 movies a year, which is very ambitious, you could totally possible.
Yep.
But let's start small and say like I don't know 8.
Yeah.
That's
Or
one.
12. 12
Well,
even.
like yeah,
If you
12
really want to
12 is fine.
if
That's
you
one
want
a
to roll up
month.
your sleeve and be like, I'm going to be very productive
But
every
that's why I
month and
say
put it one a month.
let's do 8 because you can do like two in the first quarter, 2 in the second quarter, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth. Like you got a lot of wiggle room there.
Correct,
You
correct.
know,
And it's for problems that arise in
correct.
productions. You could also do two of those being DC properties, and that doesn't exclude the HBO Max stuff that James Gunn is doing. That is
Yeah,
supposedly
I
supposed
mean,
to connect to the
if you
greater
throw
DCEU.
in HBO Max exclusive stuff, then yeah, 15 actually is a good number. But he didn't mention that. He said
No,
he said theatrical.
yeah. So
So
I like I said, I think that they're going to take their first crack at it, and when they finish, if they fail, then they'll sell off. But I don't think so. I think he's going to really put some force behind this, and I could see it, Joe. I really could. If
like I
Black
said,
Adam's
5 years.
successful, we can get a good attempt here, and I won't rule out him selling either because uh, Marvel was sold to Disney after the Incredible Hulk, like or
Is
after
it
Iron Man 2.
Incredible Hulk or Iron Man 2? Yeah,
One
and
of the
then
two, but the other movies were in production for like Captain America and Thor were in production
correct.
or pre-production.
Avengers. I believe Avengers
Avengers was
was
in
their first
pre.
one.
I think Avengers was in pre-production at the
Okay,
time. Yeah, or getting
so
ready to start pre-production. Then they took it over. So yeah, it it can happen. A sale can happen at any time. Gotta wait till 2024. They have to own it for a while apparently, but I think we'll have an idea of what the movie slate is going to be like
I
going
mean,
forward by then.
but by that point, we've had Black Adam out, Shazam 2 out, Flash, Aquaman, Blue Beetle. We've had the movie slate there.
By that time,
So
I won't ever ask for Henry Cavill to appear anymore. If he doesn't appear in those films, I'm not going to. I'll be like, yeah, he's done. So, Joe, like I said, we're both interested to see what Zazlav's going to do. A little hesitant, but I still don't think they're going to sell that quickly.
not yet.
Okay, let's get into the final news roundup before we get into our Smallville retro discussion. Blue Beetle had test screenings, Joe. Had a test screening according to Big Screen Leaks that clocked in at 165 minutes.
That's a longie.
Yeah, still cool. And to go with that as well, Warner Brothers Discovery told the actor and director that, yeah, we're still behind you. There's some quotes, so I want to get into this because they went on the director Angel Manuel Soto and lead actor Zolo sat down with NPR to discuss the film's true fate under Warner Brothers because of what happened with Batgirl. Uh, the director said, I'm not going to lie, there was concern, anger, fear at first. They told me not to worry. The film has their full support. And the actor says, well, he's kind of like fusion of Green Lantern and Iron Man. He has a scarab from outer space that is attached to his body.
Yeah.
And they went into more detail about his character that I'll leave here. Just glad they kind of said, yeah, we're doing that. What would make sense with how many theatrical releases he wants to put forward.
Yeah, this is a movie that, so it's been said on the show before. My neighbor has worked. He actually worked on Blue Beetle.
Nice.
No. Sorry, he worked on the Flash.
Mm.
He got some stuff from Blue Beetle that he actually gave to me.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so you can see that,
Oh, look at you, friends in high
right?
places.
Um,
Well, my friends suck. I mean, you guys all rock.
but like he specifically told me like a few weeks back, this movie is, I'm not gonna say protected, but there's a lot going for this movie. Like this movie's gonna be out there.
I think so
At
too,
no
Joe.
point in time was this ever on the chopping block.
And I also
So-
think it can exist in its own. I've said this on the show before. I think this can exist regardless of what is going on with the DCU cast.
Correct.
You can tell this own
It's some
origin
little
story
bubble.
without that. Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't,
and it also can be
it
brought
works.
in if
Yeah,
you're
it
if you're
works.
doing a greater DCU. It can be brought in, but it can also work on its own.
Correct. It can work with it, but essentially it'll be by itself. Which, if for whatever reason Deathstroke does show up, it ties into the DCEU. But this essentially, say they do want to just stop everything, but they continue on with this, it could work. Like he could be separate, and maybe even start the whole new DCEU from here. And we just don't know it yet.
We could. That's very well a possibility. I've loved this character, and I'm excited to see him on the big screen. I think he's going to be fantastic. So that's essentially about it for the news we had, Joe. We had another villain from season 1 going to be cited on Superman and Lois, but I felt like that was probably something that we didn't really.
You can hold off on that because I don't know. I haven't watched Superman and Lois yet.
That's fine. So, Joe, we just have our Smallville retro recap before we end the night. Do you think we should do one more ad break?
All right, let's do one more.
Yeah. Listeners, we're an ad-supported network. We don't pick the ads or the volume. I'm going to give you a quick 3 count to adjust your volume, and we'll be right back in 3, 2, 1. And we're back.
This is the other Blue Beetle thing I meant to grab.
Oh, sweet.
Little button.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I need cooler friends. So we have Smallville season 1, episode 12, Leech. Joe, what do you think about this episode?
I remembered this episode. Once I started watching it, I remembered.
I've had that happen to me multiple times.
It's going to happen the entire time because I watched the show. Like I'm not going to say religiously, but like this was appointment viewing for me when it came out. So, and then especially after the first season, because the first season was so good. This episode in particular, was no exception. Probably my favorite. So, as the episodes that I'm watching progress, this has been my favorite so far up until now. This was I do appreciate that I am not the only one that confuses Sean and Aaron Ashmore, because even Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum were like they both thought that Sean.
Tom Welling worked with him for a year and called him the wrong name the entire time when he came back as Jimmy. And folks, please go listen to the Talkville episode with this one.
That was a good episode.
As Joe talked about this being his favorite episode, that was arguably the best episode of Talkville yet.
They had John Snyder back.
John Snyder on. And while I may not agree with some of the things he says on his recreational time nowadays, it can be a little rough. Yeah. He didn't exude any of that in that interview. He felt like the dad that the dad that I felt like he was to me in Smallville. Like he was a TV dad for me when I watched him growing up in Smallville. And I thought he was great. Some of the points he made, some of the things he talked about fighting for. He was the one that went to the network and said, like, you need to get Tom Welling a driver. Yeah. Well, basically, the head of the network got the head of WB-TV got told that Tom Welling wanted a driver, but he was told more so like this actor wants a driver, like stuck up.
Well, yeah. Once John came up to him, was like, no, he doesn't want this. He needs this because of this. Like he's working 12-hour shifts. He's driving an hour both ways. Like he's constantly awake 14 hours. He has no time to rest. He needs somebody there.
He's like,
You
he's
need
going
to
to die.
protect your lead actor. And he even talked about it in the episode of Talkville. Be the horse, because when there was an episode where they brought a horse in and everybody was like holding their breath, watching what the horse did. Like the horse stopped, like everybody, all the cast gave the horse the respect. And once
Yeah.
the horse did its thing, they were like, all right, cool, we can work around. And he even mentioned when he came back for the 100th episode or the 10th season, the final episode, like Tom became the horse.
Yeah. And
After
Tom
years and
said that he
years,
learned so much from John.
right?
And John said, I had someone when I did
Dukes of
Dukes of
Hazzard.
Hazzard that was the same for me. So I was
Man,
just glad that you listened.
I used to love
And
Dukes of Hazzard back in the day.
same, Joe.
Didn't know
Same.
how bad it was.
Yeah, same. But I enjoyed it as well. Just that humor back then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no,
uh,
this episode in particular with Leech, it centers around Sean Ashmore's character Eric, who essentially gets Clark's powers.
they do a swap. They do a swap.
They do a swap.
He is falling and has a meteorite because they're on a rock hunt, essentially.
Yeah, it's something for school.
For school, for a project, you collect these different rocks. And Eric's father is a dick, first of all.
Yeah, right.
They're on record. Dick to the 10th degree. And Clark saves him. We get that transference of power because lightning strikes Clark as he's holding
Which
on.
That's a scene I remember, him getting struck by lightning.
I do remember it as well,
I think,
Joe.
But I think, like you said, with the one when he gets stabbed, it's in the credits. I think it's in later seasons.
Yes,
so
yes.
Probably why I remember that one so much.
And this was enjoyable because they switch. Clark loses his powers and becomes normal, and Eric gets Clark's powers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to go through the entirety of the episode. But what are some of the things you enjoyed about Clark being powerless, and then what are some of the things you enjoyed about Eric having powers?
I mean, Clark just being able to be himself. Like he's able to be around Lana. He's able to play a basketball game without hurting his friends. Like he's just. And Lana even says it in the episode, he isn't as Clark-like. He doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders anymore. And yes. Clark is just like, yeah, like this is exciting. I'm happy. The Eric stuff, while he started out being all good and Superboy, having adjusted these powers as a good thing. Like he goes home and his parents are scared of him. Because he just developed these powers for no reason.
In his defense, his dad was going to smack him across the face.
His dad is a jerk.
Yes, it's super jerk.
Him.
And it really goes to show, Joe, that it's not just about the person, it's about who raised you as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
And there was a lot of good moments in this. I want to say, like, I loved Clark playing basketball and loving, like, fouling in, getting his elbow in. Pete says, Pete's like, what are you smiling for? You lost. And he's like, yeah,
I know, it was great.
Just because he's playing, I really like that. And just love that Clark finally embracing it. But I did love the reservations Clark had where he was afraid that his parents weren't going to be proud of him.
Yeah.
Because we got that scene just before where he couldn't help his father with the truck. So that puts a little doubt in him. And I did love like his parents are perfect for him. They always treat him. They're just shining examples, and he even harkens back to that at the very end, saying, like, I guess Eric didn't have the two most important things I have, you and mom, what he told his dad.
Well, and John Schneider, exactly. And Josh Schneider even talked about that on Talkville, how, what he said, the Quinn effect, the Dr. Quinn medicine woman effect, where every character has to worry about.
They're waiting for Clark to get home. They're
the
just
main
like
characters doing.
Sit at the table, like, what's your problem? Like, what can
we do today? What can we help with? And Schneider's just like, no, like I'm a farmer. I am in the middle of something, and if Clark comes to me with a problem, like I will stop what I'm doing and focus on him. But I am doing something. He's not interrupting me. I am taking my focus off of this to focus on you.
Yeah,
and it's like that's perfect for an actor.
That's the way it should be. It's just the way it would be in real life. Like you will be doing something when I come up, especially if you own a farm like that. It's a smart decision and just shows him thinking about things like the greater picture here.
But it translated to Tom into his acting later on because if you recall in the Crisis episode, the crossover,
He's
when he
chopping
shows up,
wood.
Lex walks up and what's he? Yeah, he's chopping wood. He's doing work.
He's doing work around the farm when everyone shows up. So you're right about that. I didn't even think about that. That's 100%
Yep.
correct there. And like I said, I love we get a good scene where Clark and his father are doing all the chores together and they're walking side by side. And Clark's like, how do you do this every day? He's like, practice.
Yeah.
And walk out. Just great wholesome
The one thing
scenes.
I did appreciate about this episode, well, two things. You get Lex showing up,
Being Lex.
being Lex, confronting him finally about the car accident from
Yes.
episode 1.
Clark's like, I'm just a guy that was trying to do the right thing. I don't know why.
Hit me with this hammer. Just come on, hit me right now. It'll prove to you that I can be hurt, which works perfectly because it doesn't have his powers.
And we get that down the line because Eric starts to spaz out on Clark's powers.
Yep.
And Clark tries to calm him down. He throws him through the bed of the trunk.
He tossed them and he hits the roof of a car.
Roof and goes through it. And then he's brought
Breaks
to the hospital.
ribs.
And
no, he didn't break ribs. He got severely injured.
Bruce. And Lex sees him. Like, can't even walk, can't barely breathe with bruised ribs. And he completely drops he must have ran over me on purpose, which I enjoyed. I love that. And Lex telling his guy after, the cancer off limits, leave me alone. But I also love Lex in this episode because we finally get to see some evil Lex wheeling and dealing.
We get the resolution that was set up a couple episodes back. With
one ups of Lex because Lex has been knowing what Lex made a comment to Clark a couple episodes ago of like, nothing goes on in this house without my knowledge. And he knows they thought he was being played, and he turns one over on them. Joe, Cadmus is useless. I love how, I got to talk about this because I love how they walked into the room and told Lex, right, like, aha, and both of them left.
Yep.
And then he turns the tables on them, and Victoria's like, how dare you do this to me, Lex?
Right. Like, you were going to, you literally said to him.
Excuse me, miss. I'm going to hold the B word that I want to say right now, but you tried to take him down, tried to take down his company. And and then not only that, the private eye found out that she was sleeping with his father. So that was also
already has
on the
ton
cake
of problems. But
how could you do this to me, Lex? You sleep with my dad. How about that?
I don't. I don't know. Again,
crazy.
Though, like this,
loved it,
great
Joe. Loved
episode.
It. Loved it.
But it goes to show the strength of season 1. This was the building blocks, and even I think Schneider even said in Talkville, like, this show kicked off the superhero genres on television.
And Joe, one of the things in the Talkville podcast that Tom Williams like to say is, if I showed someone the episode this, would it get an idea of Smallville? I think you would for this, especially you see how much it means for who has the powers and they're good. Like, you get that really shining example of, if your powers in the right person's hands, they can get emotional pretty quickly and lose control and do Eric did, and everything goes to crap.
It's all about it's all about your values and what you have on the inside. Clark has had a big heart on the inside. It shows when he has his powers.
Also, I gotta say, Jonathan is 100% justified now for keeping everything on the down low because Eric's father immediately wants to take him to get studied.
Right.
So smart move by Jonathan Kent.
I will say one last thing. Watching this episode, we do see Lana have her necklace back.
Yeah.
And my thought was that got drained in episode 1. I don't know why, because I know it gets drained. I know it loses the kryptonite power. But for some reason, I thought, I think that might actually be, if it's not at the end of this season, it's going to be in season 2 sometime. I think.
Well, he just gave her the box, so I'm assuming it's in the next season because I feel like the box stays around for a little while.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Clark gets his powers back because he essentially Eric goes to electrocute him, and Clark has to meteor rock.
Them.
Yeah, and they switch powers. He gets it back. Clark's back. And Eric gets towed away to jail. And I love how Jonathan says, like, don't beat yourself up, Clark. Like, they clearly had problems well before he had your powers.
Yep.
So all in all, Joe, I think this was a great episode of Smallville, and I'm really excited for the next episode.
Which was the next one?
I'm trying to think. I'm just like we've had a hit of 3 in a row. I think it's Kinetic.
Hold on, I'm pulling up on
Uh,
Hulu right now.
I think it's Kinetic. If I'm, uh, I think it's the one where we get the group of
Yeah, Kinetic.
thieves that Whitney ends up joining. Maybe I want to say.
Oh, I remember that one.
And that was a good one as well. I thought that was like a little bit less of a freak of the week and more of a we're harnessing meteorites for our own gain, like the cream that the lady put on or the guy put on to make himself invisible from the plant, all that kind of stuff is a little less freak of the week to me, and that's kind of stuff that I
Okay,
enjoy.
so
Like people,
here's what the thing says. Clark and Lex are mystified when the Luthor mansion is robbed by burglars who seem to have the ability to walk through walls. Lex's curiosity becomes desperation when he discovers that the thieves have stolen evidence of his secret project. So yeah, I think you might be right. I think this is Whitney joining the thieves group.
Exciting! I can't wait to see it and discuss it with you, Joe. And we'll have an episode of Stargirl next week as well.
Yes,
And it will be still doing our march towards Black Adam. And I'll say this now, I will say it again next week because I forgot to put it in the tweet. But during our Black Adam review, myself and Joe, anyone in the chat, if you're in the chat and you post like SBub's post right now, if you're in chat and you put a comment in there, you'll be entered to win a free comic. SBub can attest. First of all, we got to blame Canada Post. SBubs was supposed to get his package like 11 months earlier, and it lost, and we had to do an insurance claim, and it took a long time to get it, but I had to throw an extra book in for SBubs for all his trouble. But he did get his package of the books that he won, the 2 Teen Titans New 52 books. I think it's New 52. And another book as well I threw in there. I can't remember now. I have so many books going around.
You're fine.
But yeah, we will give away one book
case,
for...
I can send them out from here.
Yeah, we will give away a book for Black Adam. Don't worry, it'll be fun. There'll be a whole selection here. I call it the Tower of Doubles. So you'll get to pick one out of that. There's a lot of fun there. It doesn't have to be CC. We'll see what we can come up with. But yeah. Look forward to that. I can't wait 2 weeks till Black Adam, Joe.
It's gonna be great. Looking forward to it.
See you later, everyone.